You know what separates the people who make it from the ones who keep starting over every year? It's not talent, it's not luck, it's consistency. Everybody loves to talk about motivation, but motivation is like a spark. It burns hot and bright, but it fades fast. The real power, the kind that transforms your life, comes when you don't rely on how you feel, because feelings lie. Some days you're up, some days you're down. Some mornings you wake up ready to conquer the world, and others you don't even want to get out of bed. But consistency, that's what keeps you moving even when your emotions don't cooperate. That's the difference between average and extraordinary. You see, most people think success is about intensity, going all in for a week, a month, or a few months. But the truth is, it's about endurance. It's what you do every single day when no one's watching. When the cameras aren't rolling, when there's no applause, that's where the freedom lies. Because once your habits take over, you no longer have to fight yourself every morning. You don't need to ask, do I feel like it today? You just do it because it's who you are now. You built it into your DNA. When I talk about freedom, I'm not talking about escaping responsibility. I'm talking about the kind of freedom that comes from structure, from knowing that you're doing what you said you would do, not for approval, not for praise, but because it's your standard. You get up, you grind, you stay consistent, not because it's glamorous, but because it's necessary. That's how you take control of your life. You become free from the pull of laziness, free from the trap of procrastination, free from the excuses that used to run your life. And it doesn't happen overnight. You can't expect to undo years of bad habits with one burst of energy. It's going to take time, repetition, and patience. You're going to have days when it feels like nothing's changing, when you question if it's even worth it. But that's the test. That's where most people give up, right before the transformation kicks in. Because progress doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. You've got to be consistent enough to hear it. The beauty of consistency is that it compounds. You start small, a few minutes here, a small step there. And before you know it, those actions start stacking up. They turn into progress. Then progress turns into momentum, and momentum turns into mastery. That's when you look back and realize you're not the same person anymore. You're stronger, sharper, more disciplined. You built that, and no one can take that from you. That's the simple habit that can set you free. Showing up every day, no matter how you feel, until consistency becomes your identity. Everybody wants the big win. Everybody wants that one moment where everything changes, the promotion, the breakthrough, the spotlight. But what most people don't realize is that those big wins are built on small, quiet, daily victories. The stuff that nobody sees, the habits that don't make it to social media. You see, it's not the giant leaps that change your life. It's the small steps you take every single day that move you forward when no one's paying attention. That's where the real transformation happens. Too often, people wait for some perfect moment. They tell themselves, when I have more time, when I have more energy, when everything lines up. But that day never comes. The truth is, you don't need a perfect moment. You just need to make a move right where you are with what you've got. One small win every day is all it takes to create unstoppable momentum. Because success doesn't show up all at once. It sneaks up on you when you've been faithful with the little things. You've got to start training your mind to celebrate progress, not perfection. You might think that reading a few pages of a book, running for 10 minutes, or saving a few dollars doesn't make a difference. But that's the kind of thinking that keeps people stuck. Small wins are seeds. You plant them daily, you water them with discipline, and over time they grow into results you can't ignore. You don't climb a mountain in one jump. You take one step at a time, and before you know it, you've reached the top. Most people quit because they don't see results fast enough. But the process doesn't reward the impatient, it rewards the persistent. Every small win compounds. That one healthy meal becomes a week of better choices. That one morning you show up early turns into a habit of excellence. That one decision to push through your limits becomes your new normal. And the more you do it, the more confidence you build, the more you start to believe that you're capable of more. That's how you grow. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting every day. But that's where the real freedom is, in the small, consistent actions that no one else is willing to take. The people who make it aren't the ones who move fast for a moment. They're the ones who move steadily for a lifetime. You've got to understand, success isn't a destination. It's a rhythm. You do the right thing again until it becomes a part of who you are. So stop waiting for the big break, the lucky chance, or the perfect timing. Start stacking your small wins one day at a time. Because the truth is, it's not the big moments that define you. It's the small habits that build you. Everybody wants freedom. They say they want to be their own boss, live life on their terms, do what they want when they want. But let me tell you something, that kind of freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you feel like. That's not freedom, that's chaos. Real freedom comes from discipline. It comes from structure. It comes from knowing that no matter what's going on around you, you have control over yourself. Because when you master discipline, you stop being a prisoner to your emotions, your laziness, your distractions. You take your power back. See, the world will try to sell you the idea that freedom is about comfort, sleeping in, taking it easy, avoiding the grind. But the truth is, comfort keeps you trapped. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, you trade a little bit of your potential for temporary pleasure. Discipline, on the other hand, builds power. It gives you control over your future because you're not just reacting to life anymore. You're creating it. When you say no to the things that pull you off track, you're saying yes to the life you were meant to live. Discipline is not punishment, it's protection. It protects your time, your energy, your purpose. It creates boundaries between you and the distractions that want to rob you of your greatness. You can't have freedom without boundaries. Think about it. Even the best athletes, artists, entrepreneurs in the world live by structure. They wake up early, they train, they study, they prepare. Not because it's easy, but because they understand that consistency and focus give them an edge. That's why they win. When you live with discipline, something changes inside you. You start to respect yourself more. You start to build confidence because you keep the promises you make to yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it, you strengthen your character. That's how you build real freedom. Not the kind that depends on circumstances, the kind that comes from within. And listen, there's nothing easy about discipline. It's not supposed to feel good all the time. You're going to have to make sacrifices. You're going to have to wake up early, stay late, skip the parties and grind while others are sleeping. But once you push through that resistance, that's when you experience something different. Peace. Not the kind that comes from avoiding challenges, but the kind that comes from knowing you gave everything you had. That's a freedom that money can't buy. So stop chasing the illusion that freedom means doing less. Real freedom is earned through doing what needs to be done, even when it's hard. Discipline is the price you pay for the life you want. And once you commit to it fully, you'll realize that's the moment you finally become free. Excuses, that's one of the biggest things holding people back. Everybody wants success until it's time to take responsibility. We all love to talk about dreams, but the moment things get tough, we start explaining why we couldn't do it. I didn't have time. I wasn't ready. I didn't get the support. But the truth is, every excuse you make is another chain you wrap around yourself. You don't need to be locked in a cage to be trapped. Your mindset can imprison you long before anything else does. Every I can't, every maybe tomorrow, every if only becomes another bar holding you back from your potential. You've got to stop negotiating with your future. Stop bargaining with your goals like they owe you something. They don't. Life doesn't hand out success because you want it. It gives it to the ones who are willing to fight for it, to push through even when things don't go their way. Every time you take full ownership of your situation, you break a chain. Every time you say, it's on me, even when it wasn't your fault, you take back power. That's how you start to build freedom, not by blaming, not by pointing fingers, but by saying, I'm in control of what happens next. And excuses feel safe. They protect your ego. They make you feel like you're doing okay, even when you're standing still. But comfort is the enemy of progress. The moment you start getting comfortable with excuses, you start shrinking your world. You stop challenging yourself, and soon you stop believing in yourself, because deep down, you know the truth. You know that the reason you're not where you want to be has nothing to do with your circumstances. It's your choices. And the good news, choices can change. You've got to make a decision right now. No more excuses. Don't tell yourself you don't have time. You make time for what matters. Don't say you don't have resources. Use what you've got until you get what you need. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. They don't exist. The only thing standing between you and your next level is the story you keep telling yourself about why it can't happen. Rewrite that story. Take back the pen. When you stop making excuses, you stop living like a victim and start living like a creator. You start seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. You start finding solutions where others only complain. That's when your life begins to shift, because you're no longer waiting for change, you're becoming the change. The day you stop giving yourself excuses is the day you start giving yourself permission to win. You can have all the drive in the world, all the talent, all the goals, but if you're planted in the wrong environment, you'll never grow the way you should. Your environment shapes your energy. It shapes your mindset. It shapes the way you think, act, and believe. You can't be around negativity all day and expect to live a positive life. You can't surround yourself with people who doubt you, drain you, and distract you and still expect to rise. At some point, you've got to look around and ask yourself, does this environment feed my fire or suffocate it? See, you're not just a product of your decisions, you're also a product of your surroundings. You could be doing everything right, but if the people around you don't believe in you, if they're constantly pulling you down, it's like trying to run a race with weights on your ankles. Sometimes it's not that you're lacking discipline or motivation. It's that your environment is too toxic for your dreams to breathe. That's why protecting your peace is not selfish, it's survival. You've got to create an atmosphere where growth is normal, where excellence is expected, where purpose is the standard. You can't let everybody have access to you. Some people only come to drain your energy, to plant doubt in your mind, to remind you of your past instead of pushing you toward your potential. You've got to start being intentional about who you let in your circle, because your circle is your mirror. It reflects what you value, what you believe, and where you're headed. If you hang around people who gossip, you'll start to gossip. If you're around people who grind, you'll start to grind. It's impossible to stay stuck when your environment keeps pulling you forward. And I get it. Sometimes it's hard to walk away. It's hard to let go of people you've known for years. Hard to outgrow spaces that once felt like home. But the truth is, growth requires distance. You can't move to the next level while trying to keep everyone comfortable. Some people were meant to be part of your story, but not part of your journey. You can love them, respect them, pray for them, but you can't let them keep you from what you were created to do. You've got to start building an environment that matches your vision. Be around people who challenge you to think bigger, who remind you of your worth when you forget, who hold you accountable to your potential. Because when your surroundings align with your purpose, everything starts to shift. Your energy, your confidence, your results. The truth is, your environment can either be your prison or your power. Choose the one that helps you rise. Commitment, that's the line that separates dreamers from doers. Everybody says they want success, but when the pressure hits, when things don't go as planned, most people fold. They love the idea of winning, but they're not married to the process. You've got to understand something. Commitment is not a feeling, it's a decision. It's what keeps you going long after the excitement wears off. When you're truly committed, quitting isn't even an option. You burn the boats, you lock the back door, and you say to yourself, no matter what it takes, I'm finishing this. See, when you're half in, half out, you're already losing. You spend more time thinking about whether you should keep going than actually moving forward. That's what drains you. But when you make a real commitment, life gets simple. There's no more debating with yourself, no more emotional roller coaster. You just do what needs to be done. Commitment frees your mind from hesitation. It removes the confusion that comes from constantly second-guessing yourself. Once you decide, truly decide, you unlock a level of power most people never experience. It's easy to stay committed when everything's going well, but commitment is proven when things fall apart, when the plan fails, when the door slams shut, when you give your best and it's still not enough. That's when your character is tested. That's when you find out who you really are. And the people who make it, they're not the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who stay in the fight, even when they're tired, even when they're doubting, even when they're hurting. Because commitment means you've made peace with the struggle. You've accepted that the process might break you down before it builds you up. And the crazy thing is, once you commit fully, the universe starts moving differently around you. Opportunities begin to show up that weren't there before. People begin to notice your energy. Things start to align, not because it suddenly got easier, but because you stopped hesitating. You stopped sending mixed signals to your destiny. You told life, I'm all in. And life responds to that kind of energy. Don't mistake interest for commitment. Interest says, I'll do it when it's convenient. Commitment says, I'll do it no matter what. Interest looks for excuses. Commitment looks for solutions. One will keep you stuck. The other will set you free. Every great thing you've ever admired, every success story, every achievement, every breakthrough started with a decision to commit and follow through no matter what. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to be all in. Because once you make that decision and truly mean it, every obstacle becomes part of the path, and that's the kind of commitment that leads to freedom.